All right, that's better. Well, good morning, gentlemen. Welcome to the Blackbird Workshop, and welcome to Friday. Let's see here. Oh, there's a good fair number of people in the room today. So my guess is some people might have some questions about using Blackbird with shark signals here. But let's see here. Let me finish looking at all the names here. Let's see. Well, actually, most of these names here, all but one, look like a bunch of regulars in the room. But there is one name here I'm not quite sure. I think I recognize, but I'm not sure. So let me ask here. Just to double check here to see if there's anybody new to these workshops or anybody who's fairly new to these workshops. And my question is, would you like to hear the workshop introduction? All right, so the introduction is I'll explain what's done in these workshops and probably more importantly, what is not done in these workshops. And then secondly, I'll explain how the recordings work. So that way, if you do ask a question, you'll know how you can get a hold of the recording there so you can watch it as soon as possible. And then lastly, third item is I'll explain what custom indicators I can install into my machine in case you do have a question about using a custom indicator there. All right. So if anybody would like to hear that workshop introduction, let me know and I'll get that done out of the way first. Otherwise, let's see, there was an emailed in question, but really it's not something that I can answer or do in the workshop here. So what that means is, there was no emailed in question that I could use to get the workshop started. So gentlemen, that means it's up to you guys to start asking your Blackbird questions in the Q&A window. All right, so in case there is somebody new here, in these workshops, the Q&A window is used, so the chat window is disabled. All right, so basically, gentlemen, I'm just waiting for some Blackbird questions to come in. And of course, if anybody has a question about using shark signals with Blackbird, let me know what your question is. So it is really straightforward. I mean, there's nothing mysterious about it. So it's pretty simple. And easy to do. But of course, if you have any other questions about using Blackbird, those are always welcome in these workshops as well. And let's see here. All right, looks like Justin has the first question up on deck. Let's see what it is. Yeah, so Justin's asking, I guess, really, this is a Bloodhound question. Can shark signals, can a signal from shark signals be sent to Bloodhound? No, not at this point. So I think that option is being considered, but I don't know. But there's no, as far as I know, there's no definitive decision as to whether that will be implemented or not. So we have been asked that by one or two other customers. So I know it's on the board for consideration. But I guess really probably what it boils down to is the priority, that's it's given, that new ability is given to Bloodhound. Yeah, I think that's really probably what it boils down to. So, yeah, so Justin, not at this time, and I don't know what the timelines are on when new things will be implemented. Yeah, so let's see. Yeah, I think that is all the information I can give you at this time there, Justin. So, all right. Well, at least we had one question come in here. So if you guys have any more, let me know. All right. Actually, yeah, looks like we have a follow up here. Justin, can you kind of clarify your question there? How do signals to a Blackbird order set criteria? Um, yeah, could you kind of rephrase your question there? I don't quite understand what actually you're asking. Yeah. And let's see what John has. Is there a way to use point of control as a target? Yes, as long as the point of control is is as long as that price is output to is output, yeah, as a value. But then the other thing is order flow. As far as I know, all order flow indicators require a calculate on each tick. All right. Yeah, so this is kind of one of, well, yeah, I probably shouldn't say that, but, well, I shouldn't pick on NinjaTrader. I think that is probably one of the kind of, what, kind of missing components with, I think, all the trading platforms out there, which is, right, order flow indicators. For example, here, let's go into the indicators, and oh, there we go. All right, so volume profile. There we go. So if we load up the volume profile, and well, actually, it looks like I stand corrected. Yeah, it looks like the new owners of NinjaTrader have made some changes here. Yeah, we can actually see in the setup, the calculate is on bar close. So great. Yeah. I guess I take back what I have said. So normally, yeah, any kind of volume profile, usually the calculator is set on each tick. So that means any parent strategy or parent indicator must also match that same calculate mode there as well, right? So that's a requirement of NinjaTrader, and I would imagine also the same kind of requirement of all trading platforms out there. All right. So, yeah, since the default, let's just remove this here and pop that on there again. So, yeah, all right. Let's see here. Display type, session. All right, let's drop that on there. All right, so we have the point of control right there. And actually, let me switch this to, how about a 5-minute chart there? There we go. Okay, now we can start seeing that volume profile there. All right, yeah. All right, so let's create a entry order there, and then for the profit target, let's do a custom profit target there, and then open up our profit target. And so for the initial placement, we're gonna open this up, and we're gonna change the mode for this menu here to indicator value, right? Because we're using the volume profile there. And then, there we go, do a little search. There's our volume profile there. And let's see here. So we do have some plots. So we have a developing point of control. And yeah, I remember way back in the day when the volume profile was new, those developing plots actually didn't function, but they started functioning, yeah, a couple years back, I believe. Let's see what else we have here. Yeah, so we have an initial point of control. All right, and then we have the developing one. Yeah, so you'll have to figure out, you know, which is which. There, I'm, you know, for as little that I've actually used this indicator there, I believe it's the developing point of control that you want to use. So let's just go with that for now. And then, just for curiosity here, I'm going to use the value area low and high for the stop loss. And let's see what happens here. All right, so I'm going to do a custom stop loss. And then let's open this up. Go into the initial placement there. And once again, set the mode, you know, switch it from price to indicator value. And there we go. And most of the time, yeah, Blackbird will acknowledge that, oh, look, you've used this indicator before, and it'll kind of preload it in there for you, save you some time. And so let's see, if we're in a long trade, let's use the value area low as the stop loss and the value area high, you know, if you're in a short trade there. And I believe, I hope all of these settings are all the default settings that match what I have on my chart. I believe they are. I guess we'll find out here pretty quickly. There. All right. Click OK. And see, where's price? Well, let's go. Well, can't go long. That was a mistake. Oops. Oh, I should have looked at that error. Yeah. Yeah, it looks like maybe that. Oh, I should have reloaded Blackbird. Yeah, because I would assume that the volume profile uses a one-tick data series in order to do its historical calculation there. Yeah, so that is hopefully what the issue was. So let's start this up again. And All right, so I'm just going to double check all the plots are selected. All right, let's see, resolution is minute. All right, let's see, volume. All right, so I think I have the main indicator settings that are on the chart matching what's in Blackbird there. And all right, so I'm just going to reload this one last time just for good measure. All right, now let's see what happens. Well, now I can't go long or short because now if I go short, the stop's in the wrong spot. The profit target would be in the right spot, but the stop loss would be in the wrong spot. Well, all right. Yeah, so just to fix that problem here, let's add an ATR multiplier to this. And yeah, I think 5 ATRs should push that stop loss way up here when going short, right? 5 ATRs above the value area high and or 5 ATRs below. Okay, let's do that and see if that works. So let's go short and bingo. There we go. Look at that. Profit target sitting on the point of control. Yeah. So there you go, John. Just keep in mind, yeah, that you're right. We did get this error here earlier. Yeah, object reference not set to an instance of an object. That's kind of like one of those fairly generic errors that programming languages will spit out. So that's not anything specific to NinjaTrader. It's just a generic, C# programming error. But what I'm assuming what this is probably referring to is, right, the indicator, the order flow indicator, loading up a secondary data series, which NinjaTrader would require the parent or the hosting strategy or the hosting indicator to also load up that secondary data series that's required by the point of control as well. Yeah, so what that means is just be mindful that you reload Blackbird here. And let's see. Oh, yeah, and there it is. And yeah, so here we can see that, right, Blackbird is running on the 5-minute chart, right? So the first one is the 5-minute chart that we're on. And then we also have a 1-minute data series as well, and that's coming from the point of control. Yeah, so that was the earlier, that was that. I'm fairly 99.99% certain that this error would be because Blackbird did not load up this 1-minute data series that the point of control requires in order to do its historical data calculations. Yeah. But anyways, John, there you go. That's pretty cool that, yeah, NinjaTrader has made the volume profile function with calculate on bar close. So before that, so I don't know when NinjaTrader made that change, but prior to that, like I mentioned earlier, right, most of these order flow or any other kind of custom third-party order flow, right, that calculate would have to be set to on each tick in order to calculate correctly there. So that also means that, let's open up the strategies window. So that also means that the hosting strategy or hosting indicator also had to have the same calculate setting as well. So that what that boils down to is your Blackbird for most of the volume profile or volume footprint indicators out there, you know, they would require, or NinjaTrader requires, that Blackbird or any other strategy has to run with calculate on each tick. So, but that is no longer the case with with the order flow volume profile. So yeah. Well, all right. So there is John's question. Let me just go through and see if there's any follow-ups on this. And okay, yeah, so John's just commenting. Yep, he's trying to code something up here where the point of control is set as an exit point. All right. And let's see what else, if there's any other follow-ups here. Yeah, let's see here. Yeah, so here's a comment here that needs a correction. So, yeah, John's saying that I don't think the point of control changes enough that it couldn't be passed from Bloodhound as a static point. So Bloodhound does not pass price points. All right, that's not what Bloodhound does. Bloodhound doesn't track prices on a chart. So Bloodhound can never pass a price point. So yeah. All right. So but that does raise kind of another comment here. So you know, if you're using a smaller session time frame, or sorry, a smaller session period, so which means your point of control might fluctuate more often, then of course, you know, the one thing I didn't do is in your profit target here, you know, you could also put the order flow volume profile indicator in a trailing rule here. So essentially, yeah, go into the action and then, right, and so, yeah, so if you want your profit target to keep adjusting with the point of control as the point of control moves there, you know, tick by tick or maybe point by point, again, depending on how short your session period is there, then yeah, then we could just do the same thing here. So in the action, go to the move to, and again, change your mode to indicator value, so that way we can load up the indicator. And unfortunately, this time Blackbird, yeah, didn't acknowledge loading in the profile there. So let's just find that again. All right, our volume profile, developing point of control. And again, you know, make sure make sure you adjust, all the settings there. I'm not sure what else there might be. Yeah, let's see, this is just visual stuff, so that's not going to matter. Yeah, it looks like all the settings that matter are right there inside of setup there. All right, yep. And so select the point of control like so, and then adjust the repeat, right, to repeat indefinitely. And because we're using, in the indicator, you can just leave the repeat to once per bar. So that way, after a bar closes, if that point of control moves by a tick or a point, then your profit target will adjust with it. Yeah. So I think this all makes sense, right? This is all kind of standard stuff. If you're using an indicator, where that value might adjust throughout the trade, then right, you can just throw that indicator in the trailing rule here and set it into the action there, and set your repeat to indefinitely there. All right, yeah, so that might be the last thing to do there. All right, so let me go back to the Q&A window and see if there's any other follow-up indicators here. All right, let me go to the top here and see if any of these questions from other people here might be follow-ups before we put this point of control question to rest. All right, no, looks like everything else here in the Q&A window is all new questions. All right, so we'll put this one aside here. All right, so let's get back to Justin's question about how to signal something to Blackbird order set criteria. There we go. Justin's got an example for me. Great. Perfect. Yeah, and guys, for anybody who's might be using Shark Signals, if you want to just abbreviate it as SS for Shark Signals, I'll understand what that means. Just like quite often for Blackbird, we will abbreviate that as BB for Blackbird, BH for Bloodhound, and now we have the new one, SS for Shark Signals. So, that kind of helps differentiate a signal from signals. So that way we can just kind of communicate a little better and use some shorthand there. So yeah, Justin's already using BH and BB, so great. So. Okay. Yeah, so I guess Justin's looking for a workaround to combining bloodhound signals with the shark signals. Boy, isn't that a mouthful. Yeah, so essentially not at this moment there, Justin. And I wouldn't expect that to ever kind of happen, because your first question is really the best solution, which is having a connection between shark signals and bloodhound. That's the proper way to do what you're trying to do when you're combining shark signals. And I'm going to assume you've got a good signal from TradingView, and you want to port that signal into Bloodhound, and then Bloodhound can apply filtering and combine, this indicator from TradingView with other filtering or other indicator conditions within Bloodhound, and combine it all together and aggregate, a signal that way. Yeah, so generally speaking, Blackbird is not built to filter your signals or to aggregate your signals together. That's not the job of Blackbird, to figure out whether your signal is valid or not. So I don't think Blackbird will ever have the ability to combine signals and try and recalculate, whether something is valid or not by combining signals together, right? That's not the job of Blackbird. The job is, if you're using Bloodhound, make sure your Bloodhound signals are valid before you pass them to Blackbird. Really, is what it boils down to. Yeah. So what Justin's getting at is, can we take the Bloodhound signals, and then wait, have an order set, or have all the order sets wait until the shark signal comes in. So no, as you can see, actually in the signals, shark signals doesn't exist. So for now, the connection between shark signals and Blackbird are straightforward. So either Blackbird is yeah. I'm pausing here to reconsider what I was about to say. So if you do have a Bloodhound signal coming in, remember, if you have multiple Bloodhound signals coming in, they are all ORed together. So again, there's no logic combining here of signals for Blackbird, right? So if you do have multiple Bloodhound signals loaded in, but you're saying, hey, I want 2 out of the 3 before, a trade is executed, something like that. That kind of logic is what Bloodhound's for. That has to be done in Bloodhound. That's not done by Blackbird here. So if you do have a Bloodhound signal, and then you also have well, I am wondering why I don't. Well, all right, folks, let me check something out here. I should have the shark signals button right there. And there we go. Oh, no, it is enabled. Oh, let's see here. Maybe this is my mistake. All right. So let me pull up the Shark Signals client. There we go. So yeah, so another thing for you, for the Shark Signals users, make sure that you have the client window opened up, actually opened and signed in, so it's actually active, right? So to do that, right, go to New, which this is mentioned, in the documentation for Shark Signals there. Just go to New, Shark Signals, right? And that's where you'd find the heat map, and now that's where you would find the Shark Signals there. All right, so let's sign in. And I am already signed in here in preparation in case any of you guys had some questions there. All right, so you can see I just created a quick trade plan just so I could connect up a Blackbird account there. Right. Okay, I don't want to get too sidetracked here. So, all right. So there we go. So now we're signed in to Shark Signals there. I can close that tab there. And in the client, there you go. So we can now see the client is connected. Enable trading is turned off. So this is kind of like another backup switch here to disable signals from coming in here. All right. So make sure that's turned on. There we go. Now I have my Shark Signals button there. All right. So with that, I can just kind of minimize that. Now, all right. So Shark Signals is enabled by default there. All right. And so getting back to the point here I'm trying to make, which is Blackbird in this scenario, right? Let's just pretend like we have a Bloodhound template loaded in. So Blackbird will take signals from Bloodhound, and it'll take signals from Shark Signals, right? It'll take them both. Whatever comes in first, Blackbird will take them all. So, and hold on a moment. Let me just kind of take a drink here and get my voice back. Okay, so getting back to Justin's question here. So I just kind of took you the scenic route, to kind of give you an understanding of the back end engineering here of Blackbird. And so again, all signal sources, they are all ORed together. There is no ANDing them, XORing them, or there's no applying any kind of logic to that. Yeah. There's no kind of logic to try and combine them together using Blackbird. So yeah, that's not really the responsibility of Blackbird to try and do that. So bottom line is, if a signal comes in from Shark Signals, Blackbird just executes on it and takes it. So it doesn't combine it with the Bloodhound signals there. So now this has not been tested, but as I'm speaking out loud here, kind of explaining things, you could test this out, Justin. I would not really expect this to work as expected, because again, this is not really a deliberate capability that was, that Blackbird was designed for. But I think you could use the placement option here, and let's see, where is it? The Bloodhound signal there. So you could load in your Bloodhound signal. There we go. I'll just load in the crossover test 2 and select, yeah, I don't know, select something here like that. Now the big problem with this is that the shark signal has to come in first, or the Bloodhound, the main trade signal has to come in first, and then this placement option here is a filtering mechanism. And so the Bloodhound, right, this specific Bloodhound signal has to come in secondly, right? So if this signal comes in first, Blackbird just ignores it because there's no trade signal, right? So remember, the signals up here initiate the trade. The same with shark signals. So the signal from shark signals initiates the trade, telling Blackbird, hey, execute a trade. And then Blackbird looks at the entry order and says, okay, I'm going to submit a market. And then it looks further down the list and says, oh, wait, I have a placement requirement. And then it checks and it says, oh, do I have this Bloodhound signal at this moment? And if it doesn't, then, this entry order goes into a pending state, right? It goes into a pending state until this Bloodhound template does fire off the signal, right? So, yeah. So that's how that all functions. So it's not a direct combining of signals together, right? So that's why, this probably will not work. So there is a specific sequence of events, right? The trade signal must come in first. So whether that's from, Bloodhound, shark signals, that must come in first there. And then in the entry orders, right, the placement is looked at secondly to see, are all of these trigger requirements true? Are they true? And if they are, okay, then we can place that entry order. So, and then the other issue is whenever you use these secondary placement requirements, these prerequisites, actually I guess prerequisite is kind of a incorrect statement, because these triggers must become true after the trade signal, right, fires off. So, but in any case, when you use the placement, you do also have to make sure that you cancel this pending entry order at some point, because Blackbird doesn't know when you've given up on the trade. So you got to just tell Blackbird when to give up on trying to submit this entry order, right? So, so just for example, a quick easy one is just say, okay, after 5 bars, just give up on trying to place this entry order, or of course you can use more fancy logic as well. You can use any of these triggers here to also tell Blackbird when to cancel this entry order, so it's not left in that pending state waiting to try and execute. So yeah. Okay, so bottom line here, let's kind of summarize all this. So no, Justin didn't find a workaround, but at least you kind of have, you've been given another explanation of the underlying wiring diagram, I guess you could say, of how signals work together within Blackbird there, and how the place option here functions as well. All right. So with that, let's see. Let me see if there's any. Yeah, let me just check if there's any follow-ups on this from Justin or anybody else. And all right, yeah, so Justin, yeah, has a follow-up here just to kind of clarify, yeah, another, clarify, yeah, what needs to be done to combine his Bloodhound logic and his, again, I'm going to assume TradingView logic here. So, yeah, so Justin's saying basically you would have to take his Bloodhound logic and convert it into PineScript, so that way, yeah, the Bloodhound logic and whatever this other indicator logic is in TradingView, yeah, combine them together so that Shark Signals has the complete combined logic. And yes, currently, yes, that is the way to accomplish that. Correct. Yeah. Yeah, okay. All right, yeah, you're welcome there, Justin. Okay, so I think we are done with, yeah, with Justin's question, at least for now. All right, so going back to the Q&A window here, and let's see what other questions I can answer. All right, so Aaron has a couple up here, I think. Let's see here. Yeah, so Aaron, all right, yeah, Aaron's trying to, suggest what Justin means here, but let's tackle this as a question on its own here. So, yeah, Aaron made the statement that assigning a Shark signal to a Blackbird order set. So, hold on, let me take another drink here. Well, yeah, sorry about the coughing there, guys. I do have my humidifier turned on, but voice is already starting to dry out. All right, so let's take Aaron's question quite literally. Can you assign a Shark signal, a signal from Shark Signals to a order set? So no, you cannot. Yeah, so let's open this up here. So yeah, in order to assign anything to a specific order set, you would have to use the placement option. And again, that is not specifically how Blackbird was built, so that you could assign different signals to multiple order sets here. So let's just pull up two order sets here, right? So assigning, say, signal A to order set A, and then maybe shark signals, to order set B. Really what you are actually doing is you're trying to cram multiple trading systems all into one strategy, into Blackbird. Blackbird's not designed to do that. So you're going to run into a bunch of issues, right? You can try and do that, but the issue you're always going to run into is that, and in order to assign one trade signal source to one entry order and another signal source to a different entry order, right, is you would be using the placement, right, to filter them out, but getting to Aaron's, taking Aaron's helpful comment there as a literal question, can we assign a shark signal to an order set? So there is no, switch to the advanced tab here. Let's delete that. Yeah, so there is no trigger here that is a shark signals incoming signal, and there won't be. So shark signals is not a triggering condition. Yeah, so that's the first issue is, yeah, there's no shark signal, triggering mechanism here. Yeah, so that's the first issue. But then the second issue here, where, and I'm kind of elaborating on maybe the next iteration of this kind of question. The next issue is, if you do try and take, a bloodhound signal and assign it to order set A, and then maybe take a different bloodhound signal and assign it to order set B, remember that Blackbird says, oh, I had an order set I had a trade signal come in. Blackbird always tries to execute the entire order set, right? Every order set is seen as one trade. It's not seen as multiple trading systems. So Blackbird's always trying to execute order set A, order set B, order set C, however many order sets you have, they're all supposed to be a part of one trade. And so when you try and break each order set up into individual trading systems or signals, then you run into the issue of figuring out how to cancel. I guess let me, I'll just put that back in there. All right. Then, you always run into the issue of figuring out how do you cancel order set B, because you don't want it to fire off. You only want order set A to fire off when Bloodhound signal A fires off, right? And that's just a nightmare. It's going to be fairly impossible. I think what might work for most people is canceling the entry order after one bar, or maybe after 2 bars. That might work, but again, just keep in mind that Blackbird's not designed to do that, so you definitely will run into issues there. Okay, but again, the bottom line answer for can you assign a shark signal to an order set? No. Let's see here. And Aaron also suggesting, John or Justin probably, means a bloodhound signal. So we got that all worked out. Thank you. All right, let's see what's up next. Minesh, is there a way to use the custom script? Minesh, I need a little more explanation there. What are you using? What does this custom script come from? yeah, what is exactly this custom script? Yeah, I need a little more information there too. And what are you wanting to do with this custom script? So, yeah, what's the source of this custom script and what do you want to do with that custom script? So, yeah, so if you can kind of dial me in on exactly what you're trying to do there, then I can give you a precise answer to your question. All right, so let's move on here to John. Okay. Yeah, so I guess, yeah, this is a two-part question here from John. So, are there any third-party vendors with indicators that are compatible with Shark? So you would need to ask those vendors. So obviously there's way too many vendors. So, and vendors don't give away their stuff for free. So there's no way for Shark Indicators to figure out if another vendor's indicator is compatible with Bloodhound, with Blackbird, or with Shark Signals. So in theory, in theory, based on TradingView's Pine script, when it comes to Shark Signals, all the indicators out there should be compatible with Shark Signals. What it boils down to is, can you create in TradingView, can you create an alert with that? And can you customize, and I'm losing my voice again. Sorry, just a sec here. Yeah, so the question, that have to ask, the TradingView, vendors out there that are producing indicators, that give you a signal, you'll have to figure out, can you create an alert, right? A TradingView alert, right, with a webhook. So that's how Shark Signals functions, is you, create a webhook. So, all right, so that's the first thing, first kind of part of that question. So yeah, shark indicators. Yeah, we don't test other people's stuff. So you really need to go to them, go to that vendor and ask them. And if they don't know, the owners of other companies are always welcome to contact us. They can just email us at support. Let us know, hey, I'm the owner of so-and-so company. And we're always willing to meet with them on Zoom and test their indicators with Bloodhound and or Blackbird. So we're always willing to meet with other vendors out there. So, and in fact, just to kind of show here, if you go to the Shark Indicators, if you see under support, support community, vendors here. I have a feeling this vendors list is probably getting out of date here. Yeah, because I think, Lizard Trader looks like they've changed their business model, although they are still compatible. But in any case, we have met with all of these vendors here to test with them, with the owners, to test their indicators with compatibility with Bloodhound and stuff like that. Yeah. So, yeah. So, let's see here. All right, so there we go. So that's the first half of John's question. The second half, you know, is there an indicator that offers call and put wall levels on the S&P and the NASDAQ? I would say no, because NinjaTrader is not capable of offering automation with options, at least not yet. So yeah, analyzing options really requires matrix what level or style? Matrix mathematics to be able to do that. Yeah, to be able to analyze, because you have all those different call and put levels, pricing levels, right? And it makes up a matrix. So that really overly complicates the mathematics. So for now, yeah, NinjaTrader. I don't think anybody really has any kind of like indicator or add-on product for a trading platform, that does that. When you're analyzing call and put levels and volumes, really that is a dedicated piece of software, that has the matrix style of mathematics and analysis, built into the program itself. So, which is far, far different than indicator mathematics or indicator coding. Let's just put it more generically. The coding style for analyzing call and put and puts is that mathematics, and that coding is far different than your typical indicator, your standard indicator. So, anyways, so I have no idea, John. that's what it boils down to. Yeah. And all right, it looks like, Manesh kind of got back to me on his question about using a custom script. Oh, okay. All right. So there we go. So now we're going to have it narrowed down. Yeah. So Manesh does have a C# indicator. Yeah. So with NinjaTrader, we don't really call them scripts. In programming, terms, scripts is a little more simplistic than an indicator is. So I know people are just kind of slaughtering the usage of words these days. So, so an indicator actually is a dedicated whole class. It's more than just a script. So anyways, Manesh has an indicator that he wants to use to generate signals. Yeah. So, all right. So let's close this out here. Yeah. So in Blackbird, right, you do have a kind of just generic indicator-based signal. Yeah, so if your indicator is outputting a signal, now remember a signal, most people, I'll have to close this out. Most people call this little guy a signal. Sorry, that is not a that's not an automation type of signal. All right, that's a drawing object. If you go here to your drawing objects, right? These are all drawing objects here. Actually, it says right there, drawing objects, right? Or chart marker. Actually, more specifically, NinjaTrader calls this a chart marker. So if your indicator is putting a chart marker, that's a chart marker, not a signal. A signal would be something like, let's open up Blackbird here. And there. So under indicator here, I'm going to load up one from NinjaTrader. So here, so the candlestick pattern indicator, here, if we load that in, right, they have a signal. All right, it generates a signal when a specific candlestick pattern is found. All right, so yeah, if you're looking for a morning star, right, it actually outputs a value of 1, meaning the pattern is found, right? So, yeah. So having a plot or a series, right? So Blackbird can read plots or a series. So you could have a hidden series that also outputs your signal there. Excuse me, man. There. So yeah, as long as your indicator has some kind of output, that can be read by another indicator or a strategy, then yeah, then you can just drop that right into Blackbird, and there you go. And you're good to go. So now yeah, so all right, so Manesh says, yeah, you can send or the output can be a positive one or negative one. Great. Yeah, that is the standard for indicators that do that generate signals. That is the standard there. So we're just gonna select that, the output of your, for your signal, like so. And then, going back here, and then you want to analyze the entry signal here. So is the long entry signal, is it greater than 0? Yeah, most of the time, 99.9% of the time they are, right? It's a positive 1. So, right, a positive 1 is greater than 0. So you can leave this alone. And 99.9% of the time, a short signal is a negative 1, which is less than 0. So for a short entry signal, a negative 1 is less than 0. So the default settings here are exactly what you want for the typical indicator that gives you a positive 1 or negative 1, for long or short signals there. Yeah, that's all you need to do is just load your indicator in, and the entry signal logic is already set up for you. So, and also, if you do build in a exit signal as well, then keep in mind you can enable the exit signal as well. Although, if you are using an exit signal, keep in mind here, you can only select one plot or one output at a time, right? So this would be, right, this selection here would be for the entry. And so if your indicator has an exit signal, then we would set up another indicator-based signal, right? Load in your indicator, and let's see. Well, it's kind of a bad example here because the candlestick pattern doesn't actually have an exit plot, right? It doesn't have a plot for exits, but just, pretending that your custom indicator might also have a exit signal there. So you would select that output instead, and then we would turn off the entry and enable the exit, and then make sure that, right, this is configured correctly there. All right, so there you go, Manesh. That should get you started there in testing your custom indicator there with Blackbird. So also kind of keep in mind, so it sounds like, since you're writing your own indicators there, let me point you to another to a specific page on our website here. Let's see, where is it? All right. So I'm going to open up, from the Shark Indicators website, go to support, and I'm going to open up the documentation. Let's go to that page here, right? So we're on the documentation, start here page. And if you scroll down to the bottom, down here on the bottom, there you go, developing for Bloodhound. So this applies for Blackbird as well, right? It's all C#, NinjaTrader coding, their requirements here. So let's just go to that page, right? So there you go. So down here, we can, drop down to here. There we go. So developing for Bloodhound, or or Blackbird. So here's a bunch of common NinjaScript mistakes. So if you're using AI, I would not be surprised if AI does fall into some of these common mistakes, because remember, AI gets all their data, all their learning from the internet, and the internet's full of common mistakes. So so just kind of read through this here and make sure that your script doesn't have any of these issues here. Probably this is the biggest one when you're initializing and synchronizing a series. I think that's, from what I kind of remember, that seems to have been the biggest one with custom scripts and third-party vendor indicators out there. That seems to be the big one there. And here's a second one, null references. Yeah, so that's another big one from third-party vendors there. They don't consider all the possibilities that their indicator could be put through, and inevitably they end up with a null reference. So, all right, but in any case, just kind of scan through that there. All right. So again, to get to this page here, I don't think it's under here. Let's just double check. Yeah, this says other indicators. So to get here, just go to support documentation, right? And this page is basically a branching point to all the other pages. So you can see there's the other indicators and other pages here. So there we go. All right, Manesh, that should get you going. And get you going so you can start testing your indicator with Blackbird. All right, so let me clear out that question. All right, there. All right, so we're down to Melroy. Okay, so Melroy is in here now. Okay. So Melroy, I did see your question there. And just to be clear, in these workshops, I don't fix, really, Shark Signals, we don't fix people's Bloodhound or Blackbird stuff here. I'm here to teach you how to fish, not to hand you a fish, so to speak, as that old saying goes. So I did look at your Blackbird file here. So let's actually open that up here. I'll just open this up real quick. And a little side note there, guys, if you do send us, it didn't do it that time. Hold on. Let me cancel that. Actually, let me clear that out there. And let me, all right, I'm gonna reload Blackbird here because I'm trying to show you guys something very specific here. So I already kind of worked out opening up Melroy's Blackbird file. So Blackbird's not showing me the error anymore. So hopefully after clearing Blackbird and reloading the chart there, hopefully it'll show me. All right, so here's Melroy's file. Okay. Well, I guess I must have accidentally saved your Blackbird file, and so it's no longer. Oh, yeah, look at that. It replaced it with. Yeah, it replaced it with my crossover test. Okay, shoot. Well, all right. So I can't show you this, but it. So I'll just have to kind of speak here hypothetically. So when you guys send in your own Blackbird file here, if you leave the Bloodhound signal attached, right, it does create a problem because obviously we don't have your guys' custom Bloodhound files on here. So it just become problematic. So the point I'm trying to make is please kind of remove your Bloodhound signals from Blackbird, and then you can do a save as, right? Do a save as, and you can change the file name, something for us, right? If you're going to send your Blackbird files in, do a save as there. That way you're not saving over your original Blackbird file. Just save it over and save for Shark Indicator support there, something like that. That way, when we load up your Blackbird file, it doesn't have that missing Bloodhound component. Right? So in any case, getting to Melroy's question. So Melroy had a question about, so he asked a question last week there about, trying to get the different order sets to scale in at different profit levels there. And so everything looks correct. So he does have each entry order here is using the placement here. So we can see here. So order set C here, right, is waiting for 120 ticks of profit, right, before this market entry order is executed, right? The trade must achieve 120 ticks there, and let's cancel that. And then order set B, right? We can see here before the entry order for B is submitted or executed, right? There needs to be at least 60 ticks in profit there. So that looks correct. The one thing though that you didn't do there, Melroy, is you didn't put in the cancel, right? You don't have any cancel options. So I suspect what's kind of messing things up is you have B and C left in a permanent pending state. You always have to use the cancel whenever you use the placement there. So as explained, in last week. So, so you might want to review last week's answer to your question there, and make sure you get those cancels set up as well for both B and for C. C doesn't have a cancel either there. But Yeah, the placements look correct there. So I've actually assigned Mike to look at this and just do a quick test on it to see if both B and C are firing off at the same time. I don't think they are. I think you're just confusing the fact that you have these orders left in a pending state, and at some point they are just kind of firing off there. You know. So, yeah, let's see. So just looking at your targets. Yeah, so your targets are spread apart. Yeah, that all looks good. So, yeah. So, yeah, so Michael, just run this through and test it out for you and get back to you. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So let's see here. Yeah, well, that was Milroy's question. Okay, so here's a good follow-up question here. Yeah, so what's the difference between the OCO entry price and the average entry price? All right, yeah, all right, so I guess I'll open this file back up here. And while that's loading, here, let's go to Blackbird and go to Blackbird. And so under the order sets page there, let's go to order sets and there we go. All right. So, right, so this menu here, right? So this is, kind of this is a common menu window here, for setting up prices, or the mode could be set to indicator there, right? And so most of these prices are pretty obvious, right? Everybody knows what the low price is and the high price of a bar, right? But there's a couple of there's a couple of prices here. So we have the average entry price, right, which is the average entry price of all filled entry orders, right, as provided by NinjaTrader, right? Whereas the OCO I guess this could also be called the order set entry price. So this is, again, the average fill, because you could be trading 20 contracts, right, or 10 contracts. So maybe you get a split fill there, amongst those 10. So just in case you do get a split fill on any one of these entry orders here, for that specific order set there. Let's see here. Yeah, so it is the entry price for that order set only. Yeah, so that way you can, so that way, because most people want their profit target to be based off of the entry price of that entry order. Yeah. So there you go. So if you want to set your profit targets, based off of the average entry price, you can do that. But of course, the first profit target, there is no average entry price. There's only one entry price, right? It's only when you get to your second order set here. Now again, if order set B and C, right, if they're getting filled at different prices, then you have an average entry price there. Yeah. But in any case, yeah, to answer the question, right, there is the difference, between those two prices there. Yeah. So, yeah, and of course, yeah, and then there's some other custom prices as well that are mentioned as well there. So, all right, so there's one question from Anonymous. And all right, looks like Melroy's got another question here. Let's see. Yeah, so Melroy's asking if I could run the file that I made on May 22nd. I don't have a file from May 22nd. So I rarely save out these Blackbird files because, again, the goal of these workshops is to teach you how to fish, not to hand you a fish. So it is extremely rare that I ever save out these Blackbird files. And just to double check there, yep, we can see here the last Blackbird file I saved was on February 13th. So I don't have that to run. Yeah, but I tell you what, let me answer a couple of these other things here. So testing stuff is also something that I really don't do in these workshops. But since I'm almost out of questions here, I'll circle back around to this and switch my data feed up, and we'll test this out here. So just to show you that it's working there. All right, but first, let's see here. Yeah, let's put that back up there. Yeah, let me get to Aaron's question here. And yeah, get everybody else's questions answered, and then we'll test test this Blackbird file here. Let's see here. All right, so Aaron, I'm not sure what you're getting at with this at John at Gex levels, etc. I don't know how that applies to the Blackbird workshop. I mean, we're not in the business to get Claude to write something to work with Gex data, etc. Yeah, that's just looking at the surface of that statement. Yeah, that's not our business model. So I'm not sure what to do with that statement there. Yeah. But here's a question I think I can answer. So Aaron, you're asking, would I run through the shark signal settings on NQ long and NQ short? There are no shark signal settings on NQ long and NQ short. Been a little while since I did it. Yeah, so Aaron, I don't know what to do with that question. It doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, so if you could clarify there, give me a little more information to go off of. Where is this NQ long and NQ short coming from? It's not coming from shark signals. JSON payload. Okay. Yeah, all right. We'll run through that a little bit here. Again, we don't teach people how to code, so JSON. I'm not going to teach you how to use JSON, but I'll just cover it generically here. So, man, yeah. Hold on, let me get my throat cleared out again here. Just a second. Okay, boy, I had a big frog in my throat that time. Man, it Took a while to dislodge that frog out of my throat. All right, so here we go. So on the Shark Signals page here, let's take a look at one of these. Let's see, this Acme signal. All right, so from looking at the payload here, the JSON here, yeah, this was created using the indicator alert template. So now the only thing currently that Shark Signals really uses, so really all this stuff here is for kind of later advancements. So there's definitely a lot more capabilities, abilities that still need to be coded up for Shark Signals to make it even more functional. So, but for now, the key items here for Shark Signals is the signal ID, this guy, the symbol, and the exchange, right? The top three items are minimum requirements, right? Right now, there's nothing that Shark Signals does with the open, high, low, and close, and all this other stuff here. So, yeah, let's see here. Yeah, this actually would be a question for the programmers, but I don't think Shark Signals uses this timestamp, right? I think it uses the server's timestamp when it receives this payload here. So, yeah. So again, the first three items here: signal ID, symbol, and exchange, right? And again, this is for an indicator-based signal. Those are the minimum requirements here. All right. So let's go in, and actually let's scroll up here. So actually, let's take a look at this one here. So I have these two signals, right? A price inflection on the S&P 500, right? So again, if we open up, we're going to look at this in the trade plan here. So these are indicator-based signals, and so what do I mean by that? Let's go and add a new signal. So when you're adding a signal, you're going to ask yourself, all right, is this a TradingView indicator? Which TradingView indicators provide less data. They don't actually have placeholders, but strategies do have a placeholder there. And so we'll look at strategies next here. And TrendSpider, I'm not all that familiar with TrendSpider, but I think TrendSpider is just like a TradingView indicator. You only have a few placeholders that TrendSpider will give you. So, yeah, so the two I'm going to focus on right now is the indicator alert or strategy alert there. All right, so both of these, are indicator alerts. So again, I'll just open up the payload one last time. And boy, I wish I could get rid of that. Let's see here, stretch that out. All right, well, we'll have to take this to the front end developer and make sure we can get rid of these. Yeah, so looking at the payload, yeah, we can see, right, the exact same payload as I showed you in the previous signal there, that Acme one, right? Okay, so keeping that signal ID in mind here. Let me just reload the page. There, okay. So let's go to the trading plan, And let's see. All right, so here's the one for the SPX. So let's open that up there. So if we look at, right, so this is the buy signal there, right? We can see this signal ID, right? YWX there. So when you add a signal to a trade plan, you do have to define on the side menu here, you're defining whether it's a buy or a sell. Is it a buy or is it a sell or is it a flatten? Right? Those are the three actions there when you're trading. So if I click on the sell signal, right, it's been defined as a sell. You know, I could take this signal and I could reassign it and make it a buy if I wanted to, right? There's no mandatory, there's nothing mandatory here. So going back to the signals, when you create a signal, there's nothing in here that says, there's nothing in here that mandates whether it's a buy or a sell or a flatten. You know, that is all determined when you create the trade plan here. Yeah. So the point is, right, TradingView doesn't have a payload for the action, right? So if we go back to our signals, let's open up, right, this SPX 500, right? So here's the one that's been named as a sell, right? Let's open up that webhook. There's nothing in the payload that has action because TradingView doesn't replace or doesn't have a payload for action, not for indicators. So, yeah. So for indicator-based signals, yeah, just copy that payload. So, yeah, there is nothing you can really do with this payload. is the bottom line there. All right. Now, when it comes to strategies, yeah, okay, so here's a strategy-based signal here. So let's open up this webhook. And so here it's different. So for a TradingView strategy, it does actually have an action placeholder, right? Strategy order action placeholder there. So strategies, you don't actually define what the action is. It comes from this placeholder there, and it can even come from the quantity there. So let's go back to our trade plans. Let's see here. Yeah, so here we go. Here's the signal for the strategy, right? This is the Bollinger Band mean reversion strategy, right? That's the signal I just showed you on the signals page. You can see the action is left alone, right? It's not overridden, so we're actually using the placeholder here. Same with the quantity, so if you wanted to, if your quantity is coded to say, hey, enter one contract here, and then maybe at some other points it says go in with 2 contracts, right, so forth, then just using the placeholder allows that. But if you want, you can override that there. So the one thing that does have to be overridden is the symbol, because TradingView tradable symbols are different. It's kind of like one of the problem with all of these different platforms is they use different names and formatting for instruments or symbols. Yeah, so that does need to be put in there. And actually, look at that. That is put in there incorrectly. let's put it in correctly. So there you go. So that's the continuous S&P mini contract there. Right, we'll save that. Yeah. So again, bottom line, Aaron, there is nothing to do with adjusting the JSON payload. Yeah. So let's see here. So as far as kind of, your question about NQ long, NQ short, right? A strategy will determine whether you're going long or short, right? With the action there, it'll use that placeholder to determine that. But indicators, right, don't have this action placeholder. So let's go back to this S&P one, right? So when it comes to indicator alerts, yeah, you will have to define an alert for buying and an alert for selling. And you can even maybe, depending on your indicator, you might even define an alert to flatten a trade as well. So let's see here. Let me see if I can find something here. I'll just take this generic Acme signal here and just use it for an example there. So yeah, let's click on that, right? And so you can assign the action to flatten there. Yeah. So you could even use a totally different indicator to send a flatten action or a flatten command, right? So, and of course, yeah, you'll need to override the symbol there. So as well. All right, so hopefully that kind of gives you a breakdown there, Aaron, of what's going on. So let's see here. All right, let me kind of clean up the Q&A window here a little bit. Let's see here. All right, so here's another question. Yeah, the default payload does not show a direction. The YouTube video shows a direction. Oh, that must have been an extremely old YouTube video. Yeah, making these videos, somebody got a little ahead of their skis, so to speak. Yeah, and made videos too soon. Yeah. So so you can see it was determined that was a bad idea to hard code the signals, to something specific. So yeah, that YouTube video is out of date for sure. Yeah, that was made with an earlier design probably back in January. Yeah, where the signals were. Yeah, that was a while ago. I do vaguely kind of remember. Yeah, the payloads where you actually determined whether it was a buy or sell when you're defining the signal, but that's not the case anymore. Yeah, so whether it's a buy or sell is now determined in the trade plan when yeah, when you add that indicator signal there. So, what that does is that allows for people to build a hedging system. So, right there is the rarer trader who's testing a hedging idea. So they might take, one signal and use it to buy on one instrument, and then they might create a different trade plan on a different instrument and use that same signal but to sell instead, right? Thus, yeah, a hedging system there. Yeah. So, all right. So yeah, so now I understand where your confusion might be coming from. So I will try and find that video and get marketing to take that video down. So, and completely delete it. It is way out of date. All right. Yeah, so Aaron's asking, what do we have in your payload to trigger a long? Yeah, well, I did explain that question. There is nothing in the payload to trigger a long. It's actually determined in the trade plan. Yeah. So if you have nothing selected here, you can see there is no side panel menus here, right? You do have to select something, and then you get that settings panel to pop out there. No, there you go. Buy, click on this guy, sell, click on this guy, and I didn't save it. Just be mindful, you do have to save it. So there you go. Save it. Now this guy is set to flatten, and you can tell right there, it says action, 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 action. So yeah. And yep, so as I stated before, yep, that YouTube video does need to be removed. Yep, that's a really old video. Yeah. Okay, yeah, so here's the next question here. Um, So Aaron, shoot, I'm not sure what from the RHS in the webhook screen you were in. Shoot, I think that was in reference to a prior comment there. But yeah, just in case, Aaron, yeah, if you do have a specific question about the RH ACE in the webhook screen, yeah, let me know. So I'm not sure what to do with that comment and or question. So, all right, so I'm going to skip ahead and jump to the Blackbird question here. Yeah, so yeah, how do you hook up Blackbird? So, I bet I'll probably get a signal coming in here. Let's delete that. And I'm going to delete that and delete that. And Actually, I gotta make sure I actually have. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so now I do have my workshop accounts. So this is something else to be mindful of, right? Each NinjaTrader you have on a different computer, right, is a different set of accounts, right? So yeah, each NinjaTrader can have a totally different set of accounts here. So you will see what a group for each of your NinjaTrader installations on different machines, right? So, and these are all VMwares here that I'm using. And so here's the workshops one that we're in right now. So if we open that up, yeah, so in this VMware, yeah, we can say I only have the SIM 101 and the Blackbird, right? So that's why everything has to be divided, because you got to be cognizant that a different NinjaTrader might have a SIM 102 or a SIM 103, right? So, yeah. All right, so anyways, I just want to make sure that this NinjaTrader for this VMware is set up in my brokers here. All right, so it is. So now I can go back to the trade plan. There we go. So here's the SPX there. So let's go to add, and let me slide that up a little bit. Let's go to add, and so scroll down, and yeah, this is something else we need to resolve, is obviously white text on that bright background is not readable. But more importantly, I don't have access to that stuff. All right, let me reload this page here. So, yeah. There we go. There's the workshops are showing up, but I can't get down the bottom of the page. Okay, yeah, our front end person needs to resolve this. So yeah, I was kind of hoping that we would see a signal fire off through Blackbird, but I'm just gonna have to use one of these Blackbirds from one of my other VMwares here. So this is not going to work correctly. So Shark Signals, it will know that this Blackbird is only for this computer, this other computer here. So, but I'll add it there. So you add your Blackbird, right, to the trade plan, and then click on this account node, right? So these are the signals. This is the trade plan. These are the account nodes here. So you click on this, and then decide, do you want Blackbird to execute the trade plan, which is the default here, right? And so what's the trade plan? So when you click on the blue node, right, this is your trade plan. So we have order units is set to ticks, and this is the bracket here. So if we open up the bracket, we can see our entry is set to a limit entry order, and it's going to be 4 ticks below, whatever the price was when the signal came in, right? And then we can see we have a 40 tick profit target, 40 tick stop loss. So Blackbird will execute these brackets, or in Blackbird we call them order sets. All right, so yeah, back in the day when Blackbird was created, brackets really wasn't a thing, but now brackets is becoming the common terminology here. So who knows, maybe at some point we might update Blackbird to use more common terminology. We might, instead of calling them order sets, we might call them brackets to synchronize the naming here. But the point is Blackbird going to trade, the settings here, in your trade plan, or let's click off of here, click on the Blackbird account node, or do you want Blackbird to trade the Blackbird file or the Blackbird's order sets? Right, so if I select that, right, the Blackbird order sets, then Blackbird will trade, and, well, I thought I had Melroy's file loaded in. Let's load this in again because it has 3 order sets here. Yeah, so Blackbird will then execute the order sets that you have loaded in here. So it's one or the other, pretty black and white there. So yeah. So it's really just that simple. Just pick one or the other. You're trading the brackets, or AKA order sets, within Shark Signals, right? Your trade plan node, or you're trading the order sets that Blackbird has loaded up. So, and of course you do have some overrides here as well with Shark Signals. So, So one thing I'm not positive on is you'll notice that your signals have a quantity of 1 defined. I believe, this is something that's kind of been in a state of flux here. I believe that when Blackbird receives the signal, that it ignores the quantity, and yeah, Blackbird's going to trade the quantity that it has in the order sets there, right? As opposed to, right? So as opposed to, if you're using the trade plan, right? So like one thing that probably people will encounter here is not acknowledging that if you have 2 brackets, right? So bracket 1, scroll down, right? So boom, let's set that to a quantity of 1, like so. So here we go. Bracket 1 has a quantity of 1. Bracket 2 doesn't have a quantity yet. So let's open up bracket 2. All right, we do need to put some values in there, put something in there. But there we go. Let's put a quantity of 1 in here, right? So that's bracket 2. So, right, quantity 1. So that's a total of 2. But your signal is only sending 1. So be mindful of that. Your signal needs to have enough quantity to fill each bracket there. So right now, only bracket 1 is going to be executed because the signals are only sending a quantity of 1. So, yeah, so the signals would need to be updated here. Oh, let's save that. Yeah, we'll save that. Let's close that out. So, yeah, save that. All right. So it's increased the quantity there. So you could do something like this. You could say, okay, for long signals, let's trade two contracts, but short signals, let's only trade 1 contract. And so what happens here is the buy signals will execute bracket 1 and bracket 2, because, right, we have 2. whereas the cell signals will only execute bracket 1 because it only has a quantity of 1. So, yeah. All right. So yeah. So setting up Blackbird is, to kind of summarize here, setting up Blackbird is pretty straightforward. Just select the Blackbird for the NinjaTrader that you're going to be, for the instance of NinjaTrader that you're going to be running Blackbird on. So if you have multiple machines, and then also just decide, do you want Blackbird to execute the Shark Signals trade plan, or do you want Blackbird to execute the order sets? So, yeah, it was my understanding that the order sets was going to be the default, but it doesn't really matter. But yeah, so there you go. It's just that easy. Add your Blackbird. Decide which order sets or brackets you want Blackbird to execute, and there you go, and you're done. So also be mindful that the Shark Signals is enabled by default, right? That is turned on by default, so you're good to go. All right, and I do believe you do need to enable the auto trailing as well. All right, let's see. It looks like there's a follow-up here. Yeah, so Aaron's asking, so if you're running Blackbird on different instruments, yeah, can you load up different order sets? Absolutely, you bet. So yeah, so going back to Shark Signals here, right? So the signal here determines the instrument or the symbol or the ticker. Three names for essentially the same thing. Yeah, so Blackbird, or I should say, yeah, the way this operates is, right, this the signal comes through, and because you have the signal comes through, and it doesn't matter what account nodes you have here, right? You can have any account loaded in here, but the signal comes through and it is received, where is it, by the client here, right? So remember, this is the Shark Signals client. So the client receives all of your Shark Signals signals, and then the client disseminates how they're executed, where they go. And so the default behavior is Blackbird, what's a good way of phrasing this? Yeah, so Blackbird filters out all, or I should say the client filters out all of the signals, and only signals on the NQ. So here's something actually wrong. Yeah, see, Blackbird is running on the NQ. So essentially Blackbird would ignore these signals for the ES, right? Blackbird's not running on the ES, so Blackbird's just going to ignore those signals. Yeah. Now, if I go to this trade plan for the NDQ or the NASDAQ, and let's put that up, and I'll select a Blackbird here again, right? Be mindful I can't actually select the correct Blackbird here because I can't scroll down to the bottom. Yeah, I can't. Let's see if I maximize this. Let's see if I can reach it. No, yeah, I can't scroll down to the bottom. Okay. Yeah. Anyways, getting to my point here. All right, so I have a Blackbird account, and these signals are on the NQ, right? There you go. So, yeah, so discard, yeah, I didn't make any changes. All right, so as these signals come through the trade plan, right, and then they're also pushed out to the client, you know, and the client says, oh, okay, I'm trying to execute on the SIM 102, and the client also knows that it's trying to execute, right, it's trying to execute the trade on Blackbird, right? So the client receives that signal, and then the client fires that off the Blackbird, and Blackbird says, oh yeah, I'm on the NQ chart. So there you go. Blackbird will then fire off, will then execute that signal. So, but yeah, to your point, you can load in different order sets, load up different files for each instrument. So, you know. Now currently, the one limitation here currently, you know, until we can figure out a way to do this, is if you have two Blackbirds running on the same instrument, both Blackbirds will be executing the same trade plan. So right now, there's no way to choose which Blackbird is running in NinjaTrader. Yeah, really, yeah, what I'm gonna say I think is technically incorrect, but the way to implement, to be able to say, hey, I want this Blackbird in NinjaTrader, you know, to be executing this trade plan, and then, you know, if you have another trade plan that's also running on the NQ, then you want a different Blackbird to be executing that other trade plan that currently is not possible. So there's no reliable way to know which Blackbird's up and running and getting those synchronized exactly. Yeah. So bottom line is, if you have two Blackbirds on the NQ, a signal comes in for the NQ, both Blackbirds will be executing on that same signal. All right. Don't. Yeah, it's kind of like the same issue that we run into with if you have two Blackbirds and Bloodhound, right? Let's say you have two different Bloodhound systems running in two different Blackbirds, and they're both running on the NQ, or maybe both Blackbirds are running on the ES, right? What people want to do is they want to be able to keep their money management separate. Well, actually, yeah, that's right. This most recent update here to the calculate mode. Yeah, so this NinjaTrader account performance actually does keep the both of the Blackbird trade performance separated, whereas previously using this overridable performance in individual mode, this individual mode wasn't truly individual because two Blackbirds running on the same NQ, their performance did get combined. Yeah, because of the same limitation of being able to distinguish, one blackbird from another when they're running on the same instrument. But actually, this does remedy that. But anyways, yeah, they both kind of have the same inherent issues of how do you distinguish Blackbird number one from Blackbird number two that's both running on the same instrument. Yeah. So, all right. There. So I think that answers your question and quite a bit more there about running different order sets. Yep. On different tickers. Yep. So you can definitely do that. Yeah. All right. So yeah, sounds like giving this kind of broader overview look at what TradingView to Shark Signals to Blackbird is beginning to make sense here for Aaron. All right, good. Sometimes I feel like I might walk away from this workshop a little confused myself. It's a lot of moving parts here, isn't it? All right, let's see what else we got here. Yeah, routing the signals using IDs and matching the strategy instance on NinjaTrader with Blackbird enabled. Yeah, right. And I guess, yeah, the kind of the missing piece here I didn't mention here. Yeah, the technical hurdle is those instance IDs change all the time, right? So, yeah. So when they do change, right? When they do change, there's no way to say, hey, this Blackbird is supposed to be associated with this new instance ID, because that, right? The previous Blackbird, NinjaTrader got rid of it, or the trader, right, removed that Blackbird, so that ID doesn't exist anymore, and the trader put a new Blackbird, set up a new Blackbird on NinjaTrader, so that has a new instant ID, and so there's no way for software to know, when what the trader is intending when Blackbirds are removed and new ones are added as to what should be connected to what. Yeah. So the only positive connection you have is which instrument is Blackbird running on, and does it match the instrument of the signal? Yeah. I should, go back. There we go. Yeah. Yeah. There we go. Yeah. So just the signal on the NQ. Is there a Blackbird running on the NQ? That's the only positive connection you can ever be guaranteed. That's the thing, right? When you're trading, you need guarantees, not, well, I think it's this. Yeah, you don't want to be trading with I think it's this type of software. So, yeah. All right, so we got that done. All right, yeah, so Aaron's using interactive brokers. All right, yeah, and so hopefully within the next month or two, or maybe three, yeah, we'll be able to get interactive brokers and a bunch more of other brokers that NinjaTrader. So NinjaTrader does support IB, but when we hook in IB, it's also going to support other brokers that NinjaTrader does not support. Yeah, so that is on the top of the to-do list of hooking in brokers that NinjaTrader doesn't support. So that way you can just bypass NinjaTrader altogether. So yeah. So yeah, expect to see that probably later this summer. So that would be my guess. Yeah, so Melroy's asking, does Shark Signals come with a free trial? Yes, there actually is a free account. Let's see. Yeah, I don't think I can actually show you, but I think this is just gonna log me in automatically. Oh, yay, it didn't. Okay. Yeah, there you go. There's a button right there. Get started free. So there you go, Melroy. So that'll, I believe that will, yeah, take you directly and set you up with the free account there. So, all right. So there's that. So, okay. Looks like I got through Aaron's questions on Shark Signals and Blackbird. All right, so let's move on to, yeah, Melroy's question here. Oh, so we do have a trade going on. Let's see. I don't remember hitting, yeah, the sell here. I think this might have come from, well, there's nothing in the log window here showing a signal coming in. Yeah, I must have hit the button by accident. Yeah, let's inspect the timeline here. Yeah, let's filter this out to just the signals. Oh, that was a while ago. Okay. Yeah, I must have just, yeah, hit the button there. Okay. Any case, let's yeah, turn that off. Make sure it doesn't interfere with Blackbird, although it shouldn't. And let's close that out. And so, little tip here. One thing I've noticed is it seems like it's with NinjaTrader, especially with Blackbirds, since Blackbird, has a lot of internal settings that it's saving there, such as Blackbird saves the location of all of these panels and everything else. It's safer to turn your Blackbird off first, from the strategies window, or of course you could turn it off from each chart here. But obviously, it's a lot more convenient to just go to your strategies tab and turn off all your Blackbirds first before you disconnect there. This could just kind of be an old wives' tale, but the reason why I turn off my Blackbirds is what we've noticed is, well, what we think we've noticed is that if you just disconnect from your data feed, that NinjaTrader shuts down the strategies so fast that the strategies don't have a chance to serialize, which serializing is a fancy way of saying saving their settings, back to NinjaTrader. So that way, when you start them back up, they start up the same way as they left off. So just a little tip there. Okay, so let's connect up the simulated data feed. Yes, there we go. All right, this is the one I want. And let's see, 5 minutes. All right, let's switch to, switch to a 30-second chart there. All right, and I think I can get rid of this volume profile. Yeah, let's get that off the chart there. All right, and let's get Blackbird up and running again here. And let me clear my throat just a moment. guys. Yep, good catch, Charles. I am still muted. I swear, sometimes I hit that button, but it doesn't turn back on for me all the time. All right. Anyways, so there we go. Shoot, I just missed it, but yeah, we had 60 ticks, and so that did fire off B. Yeah, so we can see B. All right, B is here, and there's the stop loss for B, target for B. All right, so there we go. Great. And we can see C has not fired off yet. We only have 2 contracts. So there. All right, let's see here. All right. So yeah, anyways, you guys didn't miss anything when I was muted. I was just stating the fact that we're waiting for 60 ticks before B is submitted, right? And I think you guys probably figured that out without hearing me. Okay, so now, right? So now we have NinjaTrader has this average entry price, and so NinjaTrader is calculating, right, this profit, right, from the average entry price, and so we're now waiting for 120 ticks from the average entry price. And I think target A is going to get hit before we get to 120 ticks. Yeah. Yeah, we're only at 60. We got twice the distance. Yeah, that's 160. All right, so actually, yeah, you know what? I think Melroy's calculated out that this profit target should be sitting at the average entry price plus 120 ticks. Yeah, so I think when A gets filled, that's going to be our 120 ticks of profit from the average entry. All right, well, our trend slider is still maxed out, and we're more than halfway there. So yeah, we're what, two-thirds there? Yeah, we're 2/3 there. Now, one thing to be mindful of is, look at that. We have this stop loss that popped up. If this stop loss gets hit, you guys should all know by now that that will change the average entry price for NinjaTrader, right? So that is probably another thing you're encountering there, Melroy, is, taking out one of the contracts, then also NinjaTrader readjusts the average entry price. But there we go. We're to 5 ticks, 3 ticks away. And bingo, we're there. 3. All right, we have 3 contracts. And yeah, so we're almost at, yeah, so that target there is, is basically calculated to be filled once C is entered. Yeah. Okay, so there we go, Malroy. So as I stated, this is set up correctly there. Yeah. But again, can't emphasize enough, you don't have cancels, so you're going to run into problems big time. All right. So, Let's close this out. Oh, click OK. Close that out. And let's go long again. This time, let's reverse the trend. And let's take a look at our order monitor panel here. Right, so B is pending, C is pending. Right, they're both pending, waiting for that 60 ticks of profit and then 120 ticks of profit. Let's move this here. Boop. There we go. There. Now, we can see Blackbird is still in a long trade. B is pending, C is pending. Right? Blackbird doesn't know that the trade's over. You haven't told it that the trade is over. So, yeah, Blackbird is still trying to execute B and C. So, so there you go. That's, as they say, seeing is believing. So that's the issue you're running into there, Milroy. Yeah. Let's see here. All right, so there is another question from Milroy. Let me review that. But first, okay, let's see here. I have my trend slider maxed out to the up, going up there. All right, so yeah, I think 60 ticks is way up here, somewhere around 410, something like that, a price of 410, something like that. So we'll just watch this here, and I'm going to read through Milroy's second question here. So Melray, your second question here, to me that looks, if I recall correctly here, that looks like what you've already asked before. Is there something different in that second question? Something different than what was asked last week or the week before? Is there a different, a slightly different rule there, or different criteria in your second question? And so while I'm waiting for that response back from Melray, let me just kind of comment here, guys, that I let this run here because I kind of suspected this was going to happen here, which is order B and C are waiting for a certain amount of profit to exist, but there is no more profit because there's no trade on. Blackbird is flat, right? So when we open this up, order B and C, right, they're waiting for 60 ticks of profit, but there is no profit anymore. So the stop loss was hit, right? So there's no trade on. So as far as NinjaTrader is concerned, there is no profit anymore. There's no profit anymore there. So B and C will never execute, and essentially Blackbird is left in this pending state. And that's because no instructions were given to Blackbird as to when to give up. When should Blackbird give up on order set B and order set C? Blackbird's not going to make that determination for you. You have to tell Blackbird what to do. So so Blackbird is now stuck in this pending state. The only thing that will get Blackbird out of this pending state is a short signal, right? So a short signal will come in, Blackbird will cancel everything, so it can then reverse the trade and go short, right? And that, of course, is provided that we have, opposite signals force a reversal trade. So this is enabled. So that means the only thing that gets Blackbird out of a pending state is a signal in the opposite direction. So a short will cancel the pending state of C and B, and so it can then reverse. So I guess I'll probably just cover this again. So this was covered in what was it, last week or 2 weeks ago when this question was answered. The most common solution to this pending state here is in the cancel. We're going to switch to the advanced tab, and we're going to delete this interval. Let's delete that. And we're going to add order status changed. And we're going to monitor the order status of the stop loss, right? And so if that stop loss is filled, right? So here's all of the different states, that an order can go through, right? Did the order get placed? Was the order filled? Was the order canceled, right? Those are all the different states there. And so we're looking to see did that stop loss get filled, right? And obviously, if the stop loss, if the stop loss for A is filled, right, then for most people, yeah, the trade's over. The trade's done. Cancel, cancel B, and also we'll do the same here and cancel C. Right. So again, switch to the advanced tab. We're going to delete this interval and add the order status changed. And again, monitor the stop loss. And you can just double click here. If you double click, it'll cycle through the menu. Right, it'll cycle through the menu here. And put it on filled. All right, so if that stop loss is filled, yeah, cancel this entry order, so it's not stuck in there forever, right? But because this is order C, you also probably want to add another order status changed, and we can monitor for the stop loss of B, right? Is the stop loss for B, did it get filled? Right? So we have one order status changed, right? One of them is monitoring the stop loss for A, and the other one is monitoring the stop loss for B. And so if either one of these stop losses are filled, cancel this pending entry order. Right? So again, this is not canceling the trade. Remember, this is the entry order. Right? This menu is pertaining to the entry order. That's why it's outlined in blue. It has nothing to do with the trade itself. This only applies to this entry order. There. All right. Well, let's see. Wow. Yeah, we have almost reached the 3-hour mark. That it has been quite some time since the Blackbird Workshop has reached the 3-hour mark. All right, so I haven't seen any other questions coming in here in quite a while. So I'm gonna start the timer here and give everybody to the top of the hour. So it's about 5.5 minutes or so, something like that, to see if there's any other questions. Yeah. So Aaron's saying that IB's works well, it's working good. Yeah. I forgot what the KR stands for. Interactive broker. Yeah, I don't remember what the KR stands for. Let's take a look here. Seems like they would want to mention somewhere what KR stands for somewhere on their site. Anyway, I guess it doesn't matter. It's just I'm always curious. Always curious. So, there. All right, let me go through the Q&A window here, see if there's actually any other questions. All right, yeah, Charles saying he actually got something out of today's workshop. Definitely. Yeah, there was definitely some new stuff here discussed in today's workshop, so great. Good you learned something there. Yeah, Charles is saying here, yeah, I know what IB stands for, but yeah, it's the KR part. Yeah, they have IBKR all over the place, but I couldn't find out what KR stands for. Is that their ticker? Oh, maybe. Yeah, I don't see Interactive Brokers talked about that often on CNBC. So yeah, maybe that is their ticker. Yeah, Charles thinks it was their ticker symbol as well. Yeah. Let's see. Um, Yep, there we go. All right. Yep, NASDAQ. That is their ticker symbol. There we go. Yeah, once we got through all the advertisements. There. Okay. Yeah, I think Charles has a good answer here. That yeah, BKR is yeah the abbreviation for brokers. Okay, I could see that. Yeah, yeah, okay. Although I don't think anybody else uses BKR as the short form of brokers, but yeah, it makes sense to me. Yeah, right. I didn't use Google AI to ask, but uh, yeah, yeah. There's the full breakdown. Okay. Um, yeah. All right. Well, I am yeah just looking to see if there's any other questions here to answer. And no, I don't see any more questions, and it looks like I've kind of sidetracked us, and we're past the top of the hour now. So, all right, I'm gonna assume that we are done for the day. I think most of us are ready for another cup of coffee to stay awake, or go take a little nap. Right? All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining me today, and I'm sure you'll have some more shark signals and Blackbird related questions there. And, there hasn't been any discussion yet, but probably, I would suspect there's probably going to be a workshop dedicated to shark signals there at some point. Yeah, I don't know for that, but if we do, if we do start a workshop for shark signals, I'm sure marketing department will email everybody, letting you guys know about that, and also more importantly, if there is, oh, that's right, I pinned it. If there is, I'm sure somewhere on the Shark Signals website, there will be a sign up for the webinars as well. Just like how on Shark Indicators, right, we have this sign up here. Yeah, then I would imagine on Shark Signals we'll have a sign up as well that the email will kind of point you to, so you can sign up for that workshop and try and keep all the children separated. So with their own workshops. So all right, let me take one last look to see if there's any other last questions here. Let's see here for next week. Tweaking the order sets. Oh, actually next week I'm taking a little vacation, so there is no Blackbird workshop. There's a Bloodhound, so let's take a look here. All right, so for next week, I was just going to mention this, but Aaron brought this up as well. So for Bloodhound, we do have, right, the workshop next week for Bloodhound. And let's go into Blackbird here. And so you can see next week there's no Blackbird one. So taking a little time off there. But definitely, so Aaron, definitely, once you fire off, a full question here to support, that way you'll have a placeholder for June 12th. And we can look at exactly what you want to tweak, what order set tweaking you want to do for daytime and aftermarket. The quick answer to that's a bad idea. You should be running 2 Blackbirds. So one Blackbird, the signals are set up to only run during the quote daytime, right? So that way you have an order set that's set for daytime, and the incoming signals only come in during this daytime, quote daytime. And then you'll be running a second Blackbird where the signals are restricted to the aftermarket hours. And so that Blackbird has its own order set. So control, so the system's going to be broken up by your signals, restrict your signals to daytime, and then you'll create a separate Blackbird file for those signals in daytime. And then, you could be running the same Bloodhound file, right? You would just have 2 logic templates. I don't have anything, but you could have the same Bloodhound file and just create 2 logic templates, right? And it sounds like it's going to be the same signals. It's just one logic template will be limited to daytime, and the second logic template is limited, only fires signals in the aftermarkets. And then you'll create 2 separate Blackbird files, one for the daytime order sets that you want, and in the aftermarket, I'm sure you will tighten up your targets and maybe tighten up your stop loss as the aftermarkets are less volatile. Yeah, so run two separate Blackbirds for that. That's the answer right there. So you don't have to wait for 2 weeks to get that answer. So there you go, Aaron. Yeah. And yeah, so whatever tweaking you want to do, yeah, just break it into two separate Blackbird files. Let's see. Oh, so you're funneling it through Shark Signals. So you would have 4 signals on Shark Signals. Correct. Correct. Yeah, so that would mean you would need to. So currently, Shark Signals doesn't have a time scheduler yet. That also is on the top of our to-do list here, right? Yeah, so eventually Shark Signals will have a scheduling mechanism here, right? So you can just build that, right? You'll have, yeah, I don't know where it's going to go, but for an example here, where is it? Go to the trade plans. Let's click on the trade plan node. Yeah, so I think somewhere in these settings, you'll have a scheduling kind of like Blackbird thing, a scheduling kind of thing here. So you can limit, when this trade plan will actually trade. Yeah, and so you actually may not, for now, you're gonna have to break your indicator or break your strategy into two indicators or two strategies, right? And put in that time restriction into each separate one. But yeah, later down the road, you can then create 2 trade plans and limit those trade plans to the time of day that they can trade. Yeah. So, but yeah, so there you go. All right. So, yep. Yeah, so when you break your indicator or trading view strategy into 2, then yeah, you're going to need a buy and a sell. Well, you say 4. So 4 signals, that implies it's an indicator. Yeah, so you'll need to break that indicator into 2 indicators, and limit each one's signaling, per time of day. Yep, so you'll have a buy and sell for each of those indicators. So 8. Yep, 8 would be correct. And yeah, the problem is, again, you cannot distinguish a particular Blackbird with you can't assign 2 Blackbirds on the same instrument to 2 different trade plans. So you are limited by that. Yeah, and I could be wrong, but from what I understand, when Shark Signals come in, it bypasses the scheduling, I believe. Yeah, so I guess, Aaron, right now, fire off an email to support and specifically ask, are Shark Signals, do they bypass the scheduling, or is the scheduling adhered to? I don't know off the top of my head. So obviously, if the scheduling is adhered to, then there you go. You can run 2 Blackbirds on the same instrument. And yeah, so again, you're back to my original answer was create two Blackbird files, right? Yeah, one for the afternoon, one for daytime, and set your scheduling up. So yeah, so if Shark Signals is filtered through the scheduling, then there you go. There's your answer. And so therefore you don't need 4 signals. You don't need 2 trade plans. Well, 2 trade plans actually doesn't do anything. So therefore 4 signals won't do anything either. So yeah. Yeah, so scrap breaking your indicator into 2, because again, this is the this is the weak link here. So this is the component that breaks that solution. Is, yeah, we can't associate an account node with a specific Blackbird ID as discussed earlier in today. All right, yeah, so fire off the email to support, and Mike can confirm with the Shark Signals programming team whether or not the scheduling is bypassed, or if the scheduling is intact with Shark signals. Yeah. So hopefully this becomes your simple solution, just using the scheduling there. Yeah, and running 2 Blackbirds. So, all right, let's see here. Let me kind of clean up these questions or comments. Yeah, so aftermarket's right. Aaron wants to use a limit order. Yep, that makes total sense. The spread is a lot crazier, unreliable. Yeah, so now breaking the indicator into 2 or the 4 signals, that's a no-go. That's not a proper solution. Turn on and off Blackbirds. Yeah, so actually, yeah, the scheduling will turn Blackbird on and off if the Shark Signals is actually filtered through the scheduling. So, but Shark Signals does not turn Blackbird on and off. So yeah, just to be clear, Shark Signals does not turn Blackbird on or off. So, all right, let's see what's next here. I'm not sure what this means. So Aaron has 2 instances being lifetime. Yeah, I'm not sure what being lifetime has to do with it, but you can run as many instances as Blackbird with any license that you may have. The only limitation is your computer. Can your computer handle, multiple? How many strategies can your computer handle? Is really the question that it comes down to. So, all right, let's see. Moving on here. Yeah, all right. Yeah, so I basically said running 2 Blackbirds. Well, yeah, so running 1 Blackbird on the daytime scheduling versus the nighttime scheduling. I wouldn't call that a temporary solution. That would be your permanent solution, really, is if the Shark signals you know, if they do filter through the scheduling, then that is your actual permanent solution there, not a temporary solution. So, yeah, if the shark signals bypass the scheduling, then there is no solution right now. Yeah, there just is no solution. So, all right, yeah. So Aaron's firing off an email. Excellent. Yeah, Aaron's got yeah, all right, two activations on two PCs. So yeah, all right. I mean, I would think you'd have to have a really, really slow computer to not be able to run two Blackbirds on the same computer, in one NinjaTrader. But again, be mindful here when you look at your brokers, right? You're gonna have a group of accounts per computer, right? So this will be your computer name right here. Yeah, so if you want, you might want to consider renaming your computers. Yeah, going into Windows and rename your PC name there. So that way, yeah, it shows up in Shark Signals. Otherwise, Windows typically uses just some kind of random number and letter generator. So yeah, you can change the Windows PC name there. That obviously makes it handier, but yeah, but my point is, be mindful that different machines, each machine has their own, SIM 101 and has their own Blackbird. So when you're in the trade plan, yeah, you can see this Blackbird here is actually my VMware Beta. So that's not this workshop machine. So this actually would be sending signals to that VMware machine, not the one that I have here. So yeah, so just be mindful that you've got the correct machine connected up there. Or machines, of course, you can connect as many machines as you want. Let's see, so that one's selected. There we go. This one. There. Yeah, so we can see this is the VMware Beta, and this is the SI Webinar, machine, different VMware. So that way you can distinguish, which is which. And of course, if NinjaTrader's not running, then of course, obviously Blackbird's not running. And so those signals just go into the void, right? These signals only go into the when NinjaTrader is up and running and Blackbird's up and running. So, yeah. All right. So there's that question. And Aaron's going to do some testing on Monday. Yep, when the markets open back up. That's right. Yep, Monday. Yeah. There. All right, guys, I think that does it for today. All right, everybody. Yep, I'm gonna wrap it up now. So, we are almost at the 3.5 hour mark. Wow. Although, not surprising now that we have the new Shark Signals. Lots of questions, I'm sure. I'm sure these Blackbird workshops are, gonna be quite lengthy with all the new Shark Signal questions. Okay. Let's see here. All right, so just one last reminder No Blackbird workshop next week. So, yeah, so definitely email your, if you do have Blackbird questions for next week, yeah, just email them in, so that way they don't get lost, waiting for, 2 weeks from now for the next workshop. Yeah, just email them in. That way I'll have them and I'll get them all answered on the 12th, I believe. Yeah, was it the 12th? Yeah, let's just double check. Yes. All right. Yep. So the next Blackbird workshop will be on the 12th. Yeah. So email all your Blackbird questions into there. Also if you have questions for Shark Signals, email those to support@sharksignals.com. So there's there's a support email address for Shark Signals. So yeah. All right, I believe that should conclude everything for us. Let me just double check. Yeah, okay. All right, guys, with that, finally, have a good weekend. And I'll see some of you for Bloodhound next week. And then we'll have both Bloodhound and Blackbird the following week in 2 weeks. So, okay, guys, have a good weekend and have fun playing around with Shark Signals. And we'll see you next time. All right, bye-bye, everybody.